Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really clear, objective breakdown of a wildly popular and honestly thought-provoking book. We're looking at Money and the Law of Attraction by Esther and Jerry Hicks. Now, whether you're a total skeptic or a firm believer, our goal today is to give you a comprehensive overview of the metaphysical concepts laid out in this text. We're going to unpack exactly what the authors claim about wealth, health, and happiness, strictly using their own frameworks. Let me kick this off with a question that probably crosses your mind a lot. Why does hard work rarely equal financial freedom? It's a universal frustration, right? So many people work incredibly hard, putting in insanely long hours, literally exhausting themselves, and yet they still struggle to make ends meet, let alone achieve actual financial independence. Well, this massive disparity between intense physical effort and actual financial reward is the exact problem this book attempts to solve. To address that disparity, we've got to look at the core teachings of Esther and Jerry Hicks. They present a pretty radical thesis here. They argue that financial success isn't just about physical action. In fact, they say physical action is completely secondary. Instead, they claim true success is all about what they call vibrational alignment. Basically, it's the idea that your mindset, your emotions, and your fundamental everyday beliefs about money are the actual engines driving your financial reality. So, here's our roadmap for today. To see exactly how the book claims we can attract abundance, we're going to cover the law of attraction, your financial story, the emotional guidance system, vibrationally spending money, and finally, alignment over action. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the law of attraction, which really is the core premise of the entire book. We have to start with the macro theory that everything else is built on. The authors define the law of attraction as a consistent, universal force that simply matches your thoughts. The golden rule here is you get what you think about. According to the text, the universe operates on a strict principle of likeness. So if your dominant thoughts are focused on a lack of money, the universe matches that vibration and, well, you attract more lack. But if your thoughts are focused on abundance, you attract abundance. The book presents this not as magic, but as an impartial, mechanical law of nature. There is a quote in the text that absolutely hits the nail on the head. When you feel poor, only things that feel like poverty can come to you. When you feel prosperous, only things that feel like prosperity can come to you. It's basically saying your feelings are the magnet. You cannot feel anxious and fearful about your debts and expect to attract a windfall. Why? Because the vibrations of fear and prosperity are a total mismatch. To actually make this work, Hicks argues we've got to completely reframe how we view the universe. We need to see it as infinitely abundant. They suggest we should treat money like the air we breathe. It's just constantly flowing in and out. Think about it. You don't hold your breath out of panic that there won't be more air, right? Similarly, they argue, you shouldn't hoard money out of fear of a finite supply. There's no limited pile of wealth that you're competing with others for. You are the ultimate attractor of your own experience. Moving on to section 2. Your financial story, and how shifting that narrative changes the game. This is where that high-level macro theory becomes super personal. It all builds into the specific story we tell ourselves about money every single day. The contrast between an old story and a new story is absolutely crucial. The old story is usually grounded in scarcity, acknowledging you can't afford something or complaining about prices. The book emphasizes that talking like this literally holds money away from you. The new story requires a subtle but super powerful pivot. You shift to statements like, I'm looking forward to having more money. See the difference? One shuts the door with a declaration of lack, while the other opens the door to possibility. Now here is a kind of counterintuitive point from the text. The authors argue that the law of attraction responds to your vibration, not the reality you are currently living. So if you only observe and complain about your current struggling reality, your vibration matches that struggle. And because of that, nothing can change. To achieve a different reality, you actually have to start telling a new story before the physical evidence even shows up. Which leads us perfectly into section 3, the emotional guidance system, your internal mechanism. So, if we're supposed to be shifting our thoughts and telling this new story, how do we know if we're actually doing it right? Well, the book introduces this concept of an internal emotional compass. It breaks down like this. Emotions like inadequacy, being jealous of other people's wealth, getting angry about the economy, or being terrified of bills, those actively push money away. They're giant red flashing light signaling that you are out of alignment. On the flip side, emotions like upliftment, comfort, joy, and relief act as attractors. If you're feeling those, you are successfully aligning with abundance. The big takeaway here is that you really have to trust your gut. Your emotions act as a real-time indicator. The authors explain that every subject, including money, has two sides: the presence of what you want and the absence of what you want. You can trust that the way you feel in any given moment is telling you exactly which side of the stick you are focusing on. Feeling bad about money? You're focused on its absence. It's that simple. Let's make this actionable with Section 4, Vibrationally Spending Money. If you're sitting there thinking it's really hard to just think rich when my bank account is practically empty, the authors actually offer a highly practical exercise. Step 1, put a $100 bill in your pocket and keep it there. Just, try not to accidentally run it through the laundry. Step 2, as you go about your normal day, actively notice things you could purchase with it. Look around and think, I could buy that lunch, I could buy that shirt. Step 3, mentally spend that exact same $100 bill hundreds of times over the course of the day. You are deliberately conjuring a feeling of financial freedom and capability. Why bother doing this? Well, the text has a great explanation. If you mentally spend that $100 1,000 times today, you've vibrationally spent $100,000. This whole exercise is designed to dramatically flip your vibrational balance. Instead of walking around feeling restricted, feeling like you can't afford anything, you spend your entire day continually acknowledging your purchasing power. The authors claim this effectively snaps you out of a scarcity mindset and tips the scales toward attracting real wealth. And that brings us to the final, and honestly perhaps the most controversial piece of the puzzle. Section 5, Alignment over Action. Think back to that question we started with, about why hard work doesn't always equal wealth. The book teaches that while physical action is obviously a part of life, its actual leverage is surprisingly small. Working yourself to the bone out of fear or a sense of lack is going to yield far less financial success than aligning your thoughts to feel prosperous first. The claim here is that leveraging aligned thought is vastly more productive and powerful than mere physical hustle. The authors also impartially point out that money itself is entirely neutral. Money is not the root of all evil, nor is it the path to happiness. It's simply a tool. But because we naturally think about money hundreds, maybe thousands of times a day, mastering our thoughts about it isn't just about getting rich. It's actually a way to systematically improve our overall point of attraction, which ends up improving every single aspect of our life experience. So how do we lock in this alignment? The text outlines some very clear rules. First, don't take action unless you feel good. If you're acting out of pure panic, just stop. Second, make feeling good your dominant everyday intent. Third, completely ignore what others do with their money. Focusing on their perceived unfair advantages only breeds jealousy, and as we learned, that pushes your own wealth away. Finally, combine a genuine feeling of adventure and joy with whatever avenue you use to earn a living. The absolute secret to success, according to this book, is simply keeping yourself happy first. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the direct challenge derived from the text. I want you to evaluate your own daily narrative by asking yourself one question. What financial story will you tell today? Are you speaking to yourself from a place of chronic lack, observing only what is missing? Or can you pivot right now, today, to speak from a place of expected abundance? The choice, according to this philosophy, dictates your financial future. Thanks for hanging out with me to explore this, and keep learning.